The bow that didn't happen just detonated a civil war inside Buckingham Palace, and the stiff-collared courtiers who think etiquette is power are about to learn what real power looks like. If you're still watching, you clearly love this kind of content. So hit subscribe so you never miss the next one. Here's what you're going to learn today. Who actually ordered the purge after that frozen non-bow? With a secret protocol revision, paper really changes. Why Catherine's silence is the sharpest weapon in the palace. How and drew a line the old guard can't cross. And how this all rewires the path to succession. It starts with a pause. Too long, too deliberate, and an unbowed gaze. Leveled at Princess Catherine. No raised voices. No scene. Just a fracture in ritual that told the truth. The palace isn't united. Within an hour, Princess and moved like a hammer. Access revoked. Names struck. A message sent in a single sentence that ricocheted through every corridor. You bow to the future. It wasn't about courtesy. It was about control. Who authorized that speed? Charles, quietly and decisively. Matters less than what it revealed. The monarchy's chain of command is no longer theoretical. It's being enforced. Behind the choreography, two camps have been hardening for months. One sees Catherine as the crown's oxygen. The other resents her like smoke in a locked room. The modernists cluster around her, younger aides, strategy minds, people who understand the camera and the algorithm as well as the court circular. The traditionalists cling to unwritten rules and old loyalties, and they whisper the same complaint. She's too perfect to be accidental. Too polished to be passive. They call her silence evasive. They've missed that it's engineered, and knows the cost of duty without leverage. She watched Catherine do what the institution demands and what the public adores. Absorb pressure without blinking, ride out storms without words, show up without asking for applause, and she recognized the most dangerous trait a royal can possess: endurance. You can outmaneuver a scandal. You cannot outlast a glacier. That's why the non-bow wasn't a small slight. It was a test of the glacier. And smashed it on sight. Then the real earthquake, the protocol revision paper. Slim, technical, absent from public record, and explosive in subtext. Seating tweaks, delegation notes, ceremonial revisions on the surface. But buried language that reorders gravity, a council hierarchy that places Catherine not beside the throne, but functionally above every competing axis of influence. Not queen in name, queen in function. The phrase that matters isn't title, it's role. Future sovereign guide. That wording doesn't decorate. It directs. Was the king's pen on it? Insiders say yes, initialed if hesitant. Camilla's? Not requested. That omission is the tell. The palace doesn't put a crown on paper. It builds it in procedure. If the document is circulating, the shift has already begun. That's why a refusal to bow became a palace crime. It wasn't a breach of manners. It was a denial of structure. Camilla's circle didn't sit idle. They tightened the rules they could still control, policed the smiles, stiffened protocols, and waited for and to overreach. But Camilla understands something most rivals don't. In a palace war, the person who speaks least bleeds least. She chose distance as a weapon. Let Anne take the heat. Let Catherine draw the gravity. If it collapses, blame belongs elsewhere. If it holds, she recalibrates from the strongest surviving perch. Meanwhile, Catherine moved without moving. No counterbriefings. No pointed quotes. No backstage theatrics. She simply arrived the next day, chin high, and every aide bowed a beat longer than before. Power is what happens when rooms turn toward you without being told. Meetings rerouted. Memos pre-cleared. Advisors who once triangulated between multiple poles of influence quietly aligned to one. No flourish. No announcement. Just a new normal that felt like it had always been there. The staffer at the center of the spark left a single line behind before disappearing from every directory that matters. I was warned not to kneel. That sentence is a map. It points to sabotage masquerading as tradition, to manipulation disguised as etiquette, to a pressure campaign meant to chip away at Catherine's authority by weaponizing ritual. But ritual only works if everyone still believes in it. Anne's fury reset belief. Now the question shifts upward. Was this about defending Catherine, or about preparing the institution for the thing nobody will say out loud? A council, unofficial, very real, has been gaming the worst-case scenarios for months. A king whose public bandwidth narrows, a queen whose mandate is soft power, not hard control, a prince who must be protected from a succession fight detonating in slow motion. Their answer isn't a headline. It's a workflow. Move decisions through Catherine. Normalize her as the axis. Make the room bow to the gravity before it bows to the crown. Charles knows it. You could see it in the moment that sealed the shift. Staff called to stand. The king enters. Protocol holds. But before he crosses the threshold, the room turns to Catherine and bows. Not requested. Not rehearsed. Just instinct. Charles says nothing because the answer is already in the air. Authority is no longer an announcement. It's a reflex. Where does that leave Camilla? Observing. Waiting for the overstep that justifies a counter. Where does it leave Anne? Past the point of neutrality, enforcing the code with the clarity of someone who's carried it on her back for decades. Where does it leave William? Protected by design, because Catherine's rise, properly managed, shields him from the knives meant for him. And where does it leave the monarchy? In a paradox. To survive, it must modernize the old magic without admitting it's doing so. That's why you won't hear a speech. You'll just see rooms keep turning first. This wasn't a story about a bow. It was a stress test for succession. The purge wasn't punishment, it was policy. The paper wasn't a draft, it was deployment. And the silence? That's the sound of a crown shifting hands the only way it can without breaking, slowly, invisibly, absolutely. So here's the takeaway you won't get from the headlines. The next phase of this monarchy won't be decided by titles or tabloids. It will be decided by who controls process in the shadows. Right now, that's Catherine. Not because she demanded it, but because everyone else already behaves as if she has it. And in palaces, behavior becomes law long before words do.